emotions and reactions. Why do our emotions control us, and it seems like we are a slave to our very own emotion? First and foremost, we have to understand how our brain works and the brain neural network and pathway. Understanding this topic will enable us to break free from the clutches of our very own negative emotions and be able to handle emotional impulses better, being more peaceful, confident, and empowered. Let's get deeper into this subject to better control our lives right now. Our brain consists of cells that are called neurons. There are estimated 100 billions of such cells in our brain structure and are responsible not just for cognitive functions but also for our emotional patterns recognized in the neuroscience field. At the end of the neural pathway, we have dendrites, which are hair-like Medusa heads that are responsible for receiving information to and fro different pathways across what we call the synapses, which are spaces between the pathways. Whenever we have a new thought, the strength of it will be weak and they are not brightened up in scans. However, if it is a repeated and strong one, we can see that it brightens up and lights up clearly in a brain scan. What happens is that a new thought, which is a piece of information that has appeared in the brain, will form a new neural pathway. So, when you think about that thought or any association to that thought, say for instance, you have visited and seen something new like a new town. Each time you think of that place, envisioning yourself there again, remembering details like the colors, weather, or people there, you will strengthen this neural pathway. The more you think about it the same way over and over again, it becomes your dominant neural pathway. Another example would be if a student is memorizing their study material diligently versus another student who is complacent and not doing any studying before their examination. It is evident that the student who had prepared and memorized tirelessly would be the one who would excel much better than the one who did not, simply because the neural pathway was so strong that whenever the same question which that student had been going over again and again came up, the answers would without a doubt be answered almost immediately. This is how habits are formed. It takes an average person 21 days to form a neural pathway. It may vary from person to person depending on their brain, since each person is unique. This also happens when we learn a new skill. The moment we first learn it, a neural pathway will be formed. If we keep repeating and reinforcing that same thought over and over again, we strengthen it and it will become our dominant pattern. Our muscles and subconscious control over our sensory output will be an automated response due to memory formation, which is called synaptic plasticity. On the other hand, the same holds true when we don't practice it. The pathway is not utilized and therefore our brain eventually disengages from it. This process is called synaptic pruning. Neurons which are used regularly will develop stronger connections, and those which are rarely or never used eventually will pass away. By developing new connections and pruning away weak ones, the brain can adapt to the changing environment. Knowing how synaptic plasticity works, we can understand that whenever we are emotionally triggered, we know why we continuously react in a certain negative behavior like anger, impatience, irritability, anxiety, worry, etc. almost instantaneously without any control, since the pathway is so strongly embedded within our brain due to past lives, karmic entanglements, or habitual patterns we have developed in our current lifetime as well. Isn't it frustrating and irrational when we get triggered and behave in a negative way and have absolutely no conscious will over it, and then question ourselves and regret it after that? If we allow this to continue without any intervention, the negative response will only strengthen over time. It may look like it is acceptable to let them persist and convince yourself that you cannot do anything about it and expect others to accept you and your negative behaviors. However, the biggest loss will be ourselves, since we will be drawing lessons and challenges repeatedly for evolutionary growth as a soul. To try to overcome them through willingness to recognize we have flaws and acknowledge them and willing to do something about it is the key. It doesn't matter whether we can immediately or in a short period of time overcome them, but it does matter when we authentically face them, acknowledge them, and have the courage to set intention and action to correct them. Certain habits are with us for as long as we live, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, or even longer. The neural pathway starts as a dirt road, becomes a paved road, and eventually turns into a train track by virtue of our non-attention to them. It's so strong that it has a will of its own without any conscious control when the emotions are triggered. To overcome them, we use our willingness, our willpower, through the use of the neocortex region of our brain to override it with the right intentions and actions. It is akin to building and placing stop signs or traffic control to slow down and interfere in the train's route. Eventually, our aim is to build another reroute train track, which is a new neural pathway to positively redirect the negative response in the right direction. It will take commitment, patience, and time for this type of syntropic effort. Leaving any bad habits or tendencies without any willingness to want to try to overcome them is the ultimate blindness in our spiritual journey. We get stuck here in this holographic school which we call Earth. This place is like an escape room where all the clues are given and hidden. All we need to do is to seek, find, learn, and apply. Once we do this, we will continue to find new clues, and then eventually we find the solution to escape. Let's start to do the right thing for ourselves by correcting our thoughts and start applying what we learn. Seek the answers for ourselves, as it is our own responsibility for our own evolution. Be wise and be courageous. Miracles and wonders lie behind each positive motivation for ourselves. Live a life full of positivity, tenacious in overcoming challenges, and enjoy the miracles along the way.